Dear Venerable Sisters and Brothers, Dhamma friends, today also we are going to take the start of the Dhamma talk. May everyone settle down for the talk and give the consent, please. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse Bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Katami tayo dhamma visesa bhagya tini kusala mulani ti. Dear Venerables and Dhamma friends, we are progressing together along the subject of tini kusala mulani, three factors, skillful roots. So, with the understanding of three unskillful roots. The unskillful roots are leading or facilitating towards the diminution and degradation of the particular person. In contrast, in this kusala mula, you make facilitate your distinct knowledge as well as your upliftment in your progress in meditation, in the spirituality. So, up to yesterday, we tried to understand how to deal with the primary object, how to deal, if at all, a secondary object happens. So, the primary object story, we started with sitting meditation, thinking it is like a lab experiment, every conducive factors are there, but it is not limited to single factor, single primary object is not limited to sitting. It can be, you can apply into the walking as well as the day-to-day activities also. But I thought it will be easier to start the story. And then we took the yogi from the sitting place to the walking path, outdoor, open night, and lot of other senses are open, as well as sensuous objects also open. So, you know, you are just like, you are going to a area which is having contagious diseases. So, you go to the place with your immunity with vaccine. So, likewise, it's a risk, running a risk. And you knowing that when you go to walking meditation, there may be a lot of chances your attention, bare attention, will jump from the primary object, namely the sensitivity of your skin, the soul, to the sounds or visual objects, or smell, tasting, or other places than the appointed sensitivity of the skin. So whenever such a thing happens, your immunity or your radical reflection or your clear comprehension is in more attentive, it is in the more vulnerable situation. So some people therefore, they never ready to take this challenge, they are not happy with walking meditation. But if you imagine a person, he is happy, he is ready to run a risk, he is ready to make your attention or mindfulness vulnerable, ready for radical reflection, and something like asking for troubles. But of course it is not asking for trouble. And when you go in there, imagine whenever the mind is jumping to visual objects, main thing is to understand that is not my will, it is not my intention. And I am very innocently taken 8 precepts. I am walking with downcasted eye and with clasped hands, and therefore I am not promoting any kind of seeing or hearing, but it happens. So can you just see this as a natural phenomena and then try to understand why it is jumping. Maybe the primary object is more boring, monotonous as jumping. And it can jump into the visual object or sound or smell or taste or touch. Why it is selected only the In this case, visual object. So it is also not utterly ad hoc or laissez-faire. Some kind of a relationship is there. Paticcasamuppanna, that means dependent origination. Even under such an accident happens, the Buddha says, whenever it is jumping, whenever liking and disliking happens, whenever pleasurable, unpleasurable, hedonic calculation happen, it is so gross. So if you are sharp enough, you can understand, jump from the skin or body sensitivity to the eye sensitivity. Jump from to the earth element to visual objects. And liking, disliking, changes happen. The primary object is more boring, more monotonous, but the appearing object, visual objects, more happy, more dramatic, more titillating you. So that is one character, Buddha is mentioning there in the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, Olarika. Like a changing a channel in your television. So it's Olarika, that means very gross. Second thing is Paticcasamuppanna. Your mind has some kind of a tendency, whenever a lot of objects happen, it is naturally take priority to something, and second thing is something that is your character trait. That's your some dispositions. And it is underlying tendencies are there. So instead of hating it, or instead of regretting, or instead of getting tense, what will happen if you have to understand who am I? Why my mind is jumping to this? Leaving aside all the other stimuli. While they are bombarding you, it is jumping. So not only by one mistake you can judge what kind of a character trait I have, directed dispositions I have, underlying tendencies I have. You have to patiently let the mind to jump again and again. So each time you go to the end of the walking path, specifically when you are turning, vulnerable. And on the way back also, in the middle of the walking path also can happen, but I just cited at the turning point. Because they are your posture kind of a change. We call posture junctions. Not just walking, turning. So posture junctions are vulnerable places, just like a junctions in highway. Whenever you are going to take exit, you have to be with traffic code. Otherwise, you may mislead other people because they are running at a high speed. But you are going to take an exit. Whenever that is there, you have to follow traffic signs. Likewise, posture junctions, for an unskillful yogi, it is a hell of a headache. For the skillful yogi, who is having radical reflection, it's a new chance. It's a new opportunity to see whether my mindfulness can still be maintained while amidst of posture junctions. So that means in a relay race, while you are passing the baton, don't drop the baton. You have to maintain the lead, you have to swiftly, efficiently, you have to pass the baton. So that passing the baton is a kind of a challenge, but it depends. These talks, interviews, and reports, everything is to boost you, prepare you for that kind of a change. Don't drop the baton. Let it happen. So letting happen means, whenever the liking and disliking happen due to the secondary object, don't curse yourself, don't get tense, don't blame yourself. Just understand it, something happened, just like accident or coincidence. But the Buddha said that coincidence also happening with some rules, with some mental rules or universal law. To understand it, let it happen. That is because Paticcasamuppanna. Sankata means never you can predict when the mind is going to jump and what is the object it is going to take. Then there the Buddha says the monkey mind. Jumping from one branch to the other without even looking at the branch. That's the way monkeys are. So we can see how it is happening. So can a yogi, after getting the basic theory understanding and the prepared mind, entertain that kind of a thing? Let the mind to jump and take the chance. You take it as a, I will try how my mind is working. Of course, jumping is one aspect, and looking at it with the choiceless awareness, with the evenly suspended attention, with non-judgmental, with non-reaction, these are the attributions of the advancing mindfulness. You have put mindfulness into trouble, let it play. So imagine one day, after so much of trial and error, one day if you can understand the situation, this is the beginner's episode. And then in the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, the Buddha is leading with that understanding of the potential and the possibility, how you must restrain yourself. How you must go prepared to this situation. It is called Sekha. That means you are a trainer, or to make the talk more provocative, I would say, now you are a noble person. Because you know the potential, now you put it again and again. Sekha is usually translated as a noble person. He is trying to apply the same principle again and again. Whenever your mind is passing, and thread passing to understand I have that potential, main thing is not to worry. Let the mind to send kites, I will track the fellow. With that kind of a thing, if you go forward, then the Buddha says, each time the mind jump from the kusala mula, the wholesome place, to akusala mula. Place there no liking and disliking, now jump into the liking and disliking. So whenever it happens, atti yati harayati jagucchati, three another characteristics, he never feel comfortable. He see, I was in such a protected area, such a wholesome area, and jump into that. So therefore, it is not plunging into that, it is not entertaining that, it is not appreciating it, atti yati. Harayati, he says, now it's a time for me to go back home, go back to the secure land, go back to the oasis, go back to the pure land. So, instead of advancing and proceeding, whereby uninstructed mind may go into what you have seen and see in a different dimension and all the kind of thing, or proliferating, mental proliferation, instead think about harayati, leave it aside, mind your business, come back home. Jagucchati, he says, that is not done. Even the mind is jumping, it is not done. I have my clear way home, way back home, I must come back. So this attiyati, harayati, jagucchati are three terms. In yet another sutta, it is summarized as anicca, na ichchati. He do not happy with that. He do not promote it. So this anicca and normal anicca, two different words, completely mixed up in Theravada interpretation. So people anicca and anicca appear equally. So therefore commentaries completely mistaken. It has been translated as impermanence. It is not the impermanence. You restrain in such a way, you are not appreciating the going out. Na ichchati. Ichcha means I like it. Here anichchati. So that wherever mind jump into wholesome to unwholesome, this kind of a yogi is always understand how vulnerable my mind is, so therefore better to keep an eye. Fix a doorkeeper at the 6 doors so that I can protect myself not to go into unwholesome sphere. So that kind of restraint. It's called senses. Restraining senses is no one can impose due to precepts. One has to be mastered with mindfulness and see how the tracks are changing, and there, without much of regretting, you have to take the opportunity and see at that moment what will happen if I have the prepared mind. Go prepared, and when that happens, when you go from the forest to the village, from the village to the town to the capital city, you know you are more and more vulnerable. You know the forest is the best. Even go out, it is not going to such vulnerable things. The forest is also having animals and the trees and everything, but they are moderate. So when that kind of a saker atmosphere or saker restraint, you find the macroclimate, the outside surroundings are important. It matters. So therefore, till you develop this second phase, you keep yourself as much as possible in places where no much of provocative visual objects, no that kind of sounds, no smells, no taste, no comfort, and keep the objects, outside objects, rather middle, not going to the double positive or double negative. So that part comes under the livelihood. Not only that your skillfulness is mindfulness, as far as you know it is vulnerable, so you have to go to such a place and give the opportunity, the mind to do a lot of rehearsals, keep it in somewhere. Visual objects are there, but not so pulling into the double positive, double negative. Sounds are there, not to pour into that. So therefore, if you are not skillful in helping your mindfulness or developing mind with that conducive conditions, you may end up with a failure. So therefore, not only the mentality but the physicality also possible. So imagine if there is no dispensation, if there are no forests, if there are no meditation centers, and only you have the household situation, very difficult to proceed. You may know this is what I have wish to do, but whenever the mind is going to visual objects and sounds and they are very attractive or very distractive, so then very difficult to keep the peace of mind. But not that always you have to be in the forest. Once you develop certain amount of maturity, certain amount of skillfulness, with that skillfulness, definitely you again come back to the normal day-to-day life in the householder's way. But at the beginning you have to promote, you have to support. Otherwise, you will be giving unwanted burden to the clear comprehension and the radical reflection. Only by radical reflection you can't do it. Only by clear comprehension you can't do. You have to give the conducive conditions. It says, in the Asiatic nature, whenever a girl attains to an age, she must not be exposed to males. She must be covered with the elderly, mature ladies, and because that young girl who just attended do not know what happens. But imagine a street girl. They have no such a culture. Soon they attend. They are exposed to rugged or rough males. Can there be any kind of a compassion? Can there be any kind of a ethical values? Exactly the same, when the meditation is growing, when the mindfulness is growing, when the clear comprehension is setting in, when the radical reflection is setting in, you have to give a milder kind of questions, milder kind of exercises till that oncoming clear comprehension to take a gradual development. Oncoming radical reflection and the clear comprehension to take this as a eatable, palatable exercises, and slowly you can understand. And the young girl, if you are going to keep always inside the door and lock it, she will commit suicide. That is what happens. So you have to protect it, but we have to give their due independence also. So likewise, is it the duty of your teacher or is it a duty yourself to go to a conducive condition or not? It is not, you don't find clues in the Tripitaka. Tripitaka is not going to give you that kind of common sense. You have to understand. When the mindfulness is growing, when the meditation is catching, don't expose to too much of vulnerable situation. Let the clear comprehension gain the grounds, and radical reflection happen. So this is not, we are talking about the basic, the bare attention. We are not talking about the mindfulness. We are talking about the steadfast mindfulness together with clear comprehension. Sati and Sampajanya. Or Ayonisomanskara or Yonisomanskara. So if you miss the bus, you will misinterpret the Tripitaka telling, I tried my best till the mind, when you go out, it is still going to the desirable objects or undesirable object, what to do kind of thing. So therefore, giving a narrow range till you are in the training program is your common sense. And that would say, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva. You must not talk too much. You must not brag that I can meditate even under the Colombo situation. I can even meditate in the fish market. Not that helpful. And you must have the Samma Kammanta. Don't go to that much of, too much of bodily exercises. It must be middle range. Most important is livelihood. You have to select the atmosphere, and at that moment if you can be with some like-minded meditators or in a meditation center, that's very, very conducive. Association with the noble friends, association with the true people, and they are not going to give anything, but give a kind of a protection. So that part I find very, very weak. You don't give due respect for that. So ultimately you think mindfulness must take every care. Of course, in a sense mindfulness is such a panacea. But if you can manage, you can understand to give the conducive condition, you can see steady development. And that point, even though mind is jumping to the secondary object, some maybe tertiary object, and even then, to see the behavior of the primary object, the behavior of the secondary object, the behavior of the tertiary object is the advanced level of understanding the manners. Manner of the primary object, occasionally when it go gate crashing to the secondary object and tertiary objects, and when and where it happens, without getting frustrated, without getting too much critical, see the behavior of the primary object, the behavior of the secondary object, the behavior of the tertiary object, and it is amazing to see the manner of the primary object, the secondary object, tertiary, they're exactly the same. So there you get amused. Why should I give the priority to the primary object? That is to do away with doubts. If you have any doubts, entertaining doubts or inferiority or consider it as a mistake and self-critical, bring attention to the primary object, you may feel homely. You will feel at home. And again the secondary object, next day you will just look at the secondary object and see how its behavior, because your attraction to the secondary object is no more. Now you know it is a trap. But still, it's a kind of a highly risky thing. You see the behavior of the secondary object. Amazing. Amazing primary object, secondary object, any other objects is just a flux. They are changing. Nothing is permanent. So your fear, so your phobia to the defilements, your phobia to the wandering mind, your phobia to bewilderment, your phobia to fantasizing, daydreaming, it becomes less and less. If you go prepared, you can see it is also behave exactly like the primary object. Any objects. So therefore, slowly, you develop a kind of defensive system. You develop kind of a risk-lover system. Let the mind send kites, no problem. I will just see, if possible, primary object, or otherwise I will just see how the secondary objects are changing, how any other peripheral objects going to change, and they are, Venerable Mahalunkyaputta is telling, Passato chapi rupang, sevato chapi vedanang, kiyati no pasiyati, kiyati no pachiyati, evang so charati sato. You know, to be exact, to be in the theoretical maximum, you must be with the leg, you must be with the heel, you must be with the arch, you must be with the toes. But instead, you know, mind is now with the visual objects. Unexpected. But when you see visual object without much desire, with knowing it is a trap, it is not so attractive. It is not so bewildering. It is not so taken you for a ride because of the immunity. You never expect it. So more and more you practice, see, visual objects are there. I am usually considered as unmindful. Or I may consider as bewildered. No. Your mind is now ready to see the snare, the trick, the trap of the secondary object, and if you look at with the prepared mind, it is not so ready to take you for a ride. And that you don't know how to report. Because it's not reporting in the linear manner. You have to report in such a precision, otherwise very difficult to communicate. But internal communication happens. You understand that is timeless. So immediately you understand, if you look at even though secondary object, even though you label it as no mindfulness, bewildered, never mind. It is not so attractive. It is not giving so much of liking and disliking. Of course, liking and dislikings are there, but its potential amplitude is less. So, that term the Buddha is using, virajyati. Viranjati, viranjana, virajyati, is whenever there's a beautiful, say, watercolor picture, and it's very sharp, and what will happen if you put a water spray to the watercolor picture? The margins will be upset and everything will be upset and color will be distorted. And what will happen to a well-dressed, well-printed cloth if you apply little chlorine? Its colors will be not so attractive. Exactly the like, in the clear comprehension, with the radical reflection, with the mindfulness, whatever the visual object you are going to see, they are no more attractive. When you see it is, the attractivity is reducing very fast. So don't go back to the primary object, look at what is happening in the secondary object. And even the tertiary objects, everything you can apply the same principle. But this part is only in Vipassana meditation. Only for the very, very radical people. Only for the people employing their own mindfulness. Employing and put into practice. And there you find, with preparedness, the primary object, the secondary object, whatever it may be, they cannot attract you. They cannot take you for a ride when compared with the unprepared mind. Unprepared mind is such a vulnerable thing. So therefore, with the immunity you develop with the primary object, with the help of mindfulness and the support of the clear comprehension and the radical reflection, you can look at it. And there you see, if I am not prepared, this will be very attractive and it will take you take me for a ride. But now it is not so. Even if you are taken, very quickly you can understand, now I am in the wrong place, I am going to the wrong direction. And when that kind of a thing happens, you see we have never explored our potential of our mind. We are very superficial. We are underestimating ourselves. We know only very narrow area, and we don't know how much it is immunized when you go prepared. The Buddha says, there was a quail, a very weak kind of a bird. And she prepared a nest in a farmland. And when the crop is developing, the young birds are just about ready with the wings, but not enough to climb further. So after the harvesting, the farmer come and plow the land. And then the mother says, hey darling, don't go outside. You have to hide under the clogs of the clay and wait till I bring some food. Few days you are not ready yet for flying. Very vulnerable, so be there. But imagine there is a very naughty young bird. That bird thinks, mother is gone. And son is out there. What about climbing up on the clock and dancing? So it is with the newly coming the wings, start dancing, and immediately a bird catcher came, eagle came, trapped the fellow. And then the bird is telling, and no one to find fault with this, I am bloody fool. I did mistake. If I had listened to my mother's advice, I wouldn't have fallen into this trap. So therefore I am not finding fault anymore. It is my fault. It is my fault. Then the bird catcher, the eagle is asking, with whom you are talking with? No, I am not blaming you. It is my mistake. What do you mean? No, my mother told, we have a secure place. So, trespassing that, I went to the sun, and that's why I became vulnerable. Then the eagle became little shocked. He says, do you think, even when you are in the secure place, I can't reach you? I don't know. Mother told. Okay, I am going to give a chance. Go back. And it is now coming back with the weak wings and go immediately into the big clay clog. And after a while again it feel like, what about going on to top of the clog and dancing little? So that is the type I like. And when that bird is dancing, the poor young bird, again the bird catcher or the eagle come with such a speed, and he heard the sound because he is prepared. Immediately he go under the clog, clay, and the bird came with such a fast and hit on the clog and died. The bird catcher. The winner, the quail is the winner. So I definitely know you will not be happy your children to climb up on the clog, the log or the clay in the second time. Definitely you will say it's naughty thing. But there only the quail is so attentive while dancing, observant. When the sound happens, it knows how to go. So when that mind comes to know, this is called Sakunaggi Sutta. The Buddha is explaining, so it is so juicy, it is so sappy. The meditation is not so traditional thing. It is not a lenient thing. It is such a radical reflection. But you can't recommend, mother can't recommend that quail, the young bird, don't mind, never mind, you go to the second time also. Mother will never. But I doubt Buddha will. Otherwise Buddha won't give that kind of a example. And second time when the bird come like an arrow, the small fellow can understand. Because our mind, when it is prepared, is so sensitive. It is so tuned. We never use that part of our mind. Because we always try to be in the secure land, light blinkers, we never look here and there. So that is the bloody thing. doing by the technology, by these facilities, by this infrastructure, insurance, health security. Never allow our brain to go for neurobics. We are not using it. Buddha is asking, if you wish, if you are with mindfulness and all that, go forward. Be radical. Face it. But you must be ready to see, ready to weigh the consequences. Don't find fault with others, but that's an open invitation. So likewise, whenever outside thing happens, you are quick wit. There is a way out. But traditionally on the lenient system or in the normal restraint and the precepts will never allow you to, never invite you to do. But day-to-day activities we are facing with, met up with 1,001 opportunities if you are ready to go forward. So that is the part, the anicca. You don't like mind to be unskillful, mind to be ayonisomansikara. But immediately with the ayonisomansikara, mind can go to yonisomansikara, the skillful way, no time gap, no space gap. Yonisomansikara live so close. The person who understands it, he knows the mental capacity. He knows, I have so much of neuron circuits. We are using only 2% of the neuron circuits. Because we have been taught, we are at home, we are not running risk. So therefore, we are born with 100%, never used. Politicians, 100% fresh. They are not even 2%. Always asking the secretary or the other person, and he knows how to pass the ball. Politicians are never using. So Buddha is asking, please, when you are with mindfulness, you are a different person. Whenever the chance happens, you must understand where the yonisomansikara and ayonisomansikara are shifting so quickly. So that is the place, na ichchati. When you are associating something with ichcha, when you associate the same with na ichcha, you are a completely different person. As a young person, I was smoking. I mean, there's no thrill, there's nothing but everyone is smoking, so I also smoke. So one day I had a very bad cold, and while smoking I found no taste at all. I said, so nasty. So I went to Venerable Dhammika and told Bhante, managed, I will not smoke today onward. What? He told, no, I had this thing, therefore I stopped eating. He told, please smoke. Because now you are doing with determination, it will never work. With this kind of understand, with this kind of a disadvantage, understand the disadvantage, when you are repeatedly smoking only, it will stop by itself. Never otherwise. If you make a determination not to smoke, when the condition happen again, you will be a smoker. So therefore continue. Then I told, what Bhante you are talking? I am a lay person, you are a monk. You are asking me to smoke. Yes. Because now you are smoking with anicca. You are not entertaining it. You are experimenting. This is what you call the noble quest. Continue. So who the hell can give this kind of an exercise, advice, unless you have experienced it? Usually we say, don't smoke. If you stop, yes, good. But next day you will start again. Because you have not gone to the bottom. We are not experienced. So therefore the Buddha, when he is disciplining people, you can't predict the kind of technique he is using. Because he knows. Imagine he is taking the Prince Nanda to the heaven and showing the damsels and the, Surangana view. And he is about to marry. And he is about to become the king to be appointed. And such a mansion. And he pulled him out of that and put into the monastery. Had there been any kind of a human right court, definitely Nanda would have gone telling that, what the hell that I am, my whole endowment finished because Buddha came and trapped him. Now he is meditating. Imagine what must be his mind now. this Janapada Kalyani is talking, even if you go out, please come back. So that is the sound is reverberating in his mind. And the house to be entered. And the kingship he is going to get. So every small Samani Rask pass by, he says, Bante, mindfulness is good, concentration is good. Everyone knows he is in utter dream because everything broken and taken to the heaven. Showing 500, all the Surangana view. And read that book. Read that Nando Vada Sutta. Buddha is asking, look at the leg. You see just like pigeons, huh? What beautiful. Don't you like it? Venerable Jnanarama was telling me, he was laughing. He was laughing, asking the Nanda to look at the legs of the damsels, telling it is like pigeons. Not only one. If you can go through the 5 hindrances, I'll measure you 500. What a kind of a trap. So next day he come, Sammodhyati he has to do with 5 hindrances. So because at 500 instead of Janapada Kalyani, the single the bad smelling girl, 500. So he's striving. And all the pass-by monks and ask him, Bhante, how about 500? That did you achieve? So it's a two kind of agony. So can we expect the Buddha to give that kind of an exercise? Imagine Venerable Jnanarama telling Dhammajiva, read that particular sutta and see how the Buddha is provoking, because of he knows this is leading to a good, protection and immunity. So this is the way he put it. But normal Buddhists from the Dhampasala, can you teach this kind of a thing to the children? I'll give 500 and they are very beautiful and no smell and everything, and this will happen. But even these things have been recorded. How lucky we are. How lucky we are. It is the end will justify the means. If you can go to that end, every means are being justified. But don't generalize it. Don't be a fool. It is case-specific, circumstances-specific thing. That is to say, no one knows one's capacity, one's versatility of the mindfulness. When it is coming, and whenever it is reinforced with the clear comprehension, reinforced with the radical reflection, it is omnipotent, omnipresent God. That mindfulness appears like the omnipotent, omnipresent God wherever you go. You are fully alert, you have no tools, you have no formulas. You just face the situation and take the best possible combination. That is called least frictional path or critical path analysis. Critical path analysis is the best way in multi-stage projects to get the most critical path. Or when you are doing a warfare, to find a way, and the major must get all the information, he must give the command according to the critical path analysis. And the American one is called PERT. And we agriculturists, we are being taught in the classroom, whenever such a complicated paths are there, how to use critical path analysis and the PERT analysis. So one day I got down that into my computer and tried to see how can we put the Buddha's teaching into the critical path analysis. But it is not easy because it's very difficult to put in a linear method because it's a matrix is working. Once mindfulness is sets in, you are a different person. When the clear comprehension come and help you, you are a different person. Whenever you ready to run a risk with the radical reflection and yonisomansikara, you will never touch others' psychology. You can't predict. The person may appear like an idiot, but that potential, the possibility, because we are born with that kind of a potential. Becoming a human is not a joke. But each and every human self-cursing. I can't meditate because of my mind is wandering, daydreaming, fantasizing, blah, 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 blah. Instead, take the specific path, patipada, be patient, apply again and again, at the risk of, you are ready to run a risk, whatever the consequence, I am ready. And when it is happening, with anicca, if you face the world, you are completely secured, just like you are handling this electricity when you are having a rubber glove in your hand. No problem. If it's 230 current, if the rubber glove is not damaged, no problem you can do. But anyone come, see, they will say, don't, it's a live wire. Yes, I know it is a live wire, but I have a glove. The Buddha says, Paninam hi vanenasa visang anvagameti. If you have no wounds in your hand, you can transport poisons. If it's a damage, don't do it. Don't do it. So otherwise people will have a phobia to transport poison, no problem if you have no wounds. So these parts indicate the other religions can't go up to that level. Because they are in the lenient system. They are talking nonsense, they have not experienced it. They are talking about the omnipotent, omnipresent God yet to see, yet to be seen. And He is not here, He is heavenly. But don't talk about Him, don't analyze it, just obey. But the Buddha says, no. You just go up to mindfulness and keep on mindful with the single primary object. Go on mindful with the secondary object. Go on mindful with the tertiary objects, and you can see the diversification. But you can give only a general advice. Each and every person has to assimilate one's own path. It's so crispy. It's so original. It's so no time gap. Immediately you comes to know. It won't take time. That's why it's called timeless, akalika. So don't think it is only can happen in front of the Buddha, the Gautama, or in front of the Buddha, Maitri. Now it is not there. No. There are. More than what you expect. There are people among our colleagues, they have that quick wit. And if you are going to say, it is only limited to Buddhists, something wrong. You are not understanding a human being. It's such a potential. But the Buddha is the one explained in a systematic way. You can go forward and come back, go forward and come back, 1001 times. That is the really meaning of bhavana, the mind culture. But first and foremost you have to understand what the hidden meaning of even go the mind outside, main thing is not to worry. That's a hidden meaning. Then only you can understand, then the advantage, whenever possible, you can come back if you are not panicky, if you are not with the tension, if you are not with the frustration. So this chance the Buddha gave us, listen to me, have a faith upon me, even the mind goes astray, go bewildered. Don't worry, just be there. And see, if you wish, run a risk. Otherwise, come back home. And when you are doing again and again, you see it is very hilarious, it is very dramatic, it is very eventful, and feel like doing again and again. So this is bypassing or go beyond the simple mindfulness. And therefore mindfulness is evolving 7 times throughout the journey. For foundation of mindfulness as a faculty, Mindfulness as a power, mindfulness as a factor of enlightenment, and mindfulness as a path, factor of eightfold path. So this area is the power of mindfulness. Power of mindfulness, Venerable Sariputta tried to define, Pamade na kampatiti sati bala. Pamade means you are not mindful. Apamade is the mindfulness. Pamade means you know you are bewildered. You know you are unmindful, so to say. You know you are fantasizing. You are daydreaming, no problem. This is main thing is not to worry. Pamade na kampatiti sati bala. Because you know you at any time you can go home. Just like the quail in the second time. Still dancing. And even the bird catcher is coming. And whenever comes so close, he knows immediately I can go under the clock. And my safe land is there. Then what happens to the eagle? Then what happened to the bird catcher? Thrashed. So otherwise, if the bird catcher before coming at the far end, if you go into hide this thing, bird catcher in very safe land. But it waiting to the last minute and then go under the clock, and the bird catcher cannot change the path. Come and hit. So imagine such a quail can kill a bird catcher. It's a tricky thing. It's a very, you have to be very tactful. You have to be very impromptu adjustments. We have so much of capacity. So we can't talk about this in the classrooms, because classroom is make your mind lenient and idiot and very stereotype. And talking and everything will completely burst present day education system. It is the benumbing. Make the mind benumbed. Never allow you to think in radical way. So still, we in Satipasala try to give this mindfulness as a lesson to the children under the present setup, but without an exam, without the competition. Just give the mindfulness and see how the children works. Of course, it is under the present education system. But if you can make the mind anicca, entertain anything without much of grabbing, without much of slavery. Use it in the utility value. Don't go for luxuries. Don't go for consumerization. Use the thing in the utility way, no harm. It has its own limit. But whenever the limit thread pass, you are vulnerable. So mindfulness is making very sensitive, keeping you within the secure area. Whenever you are bypassing the secure area, your alertness, just like a radar working in the airport, very alert what is happening right now. Likewise, your radar. It says in the poetic way, when the Buddha is traveling, maybe for Pindapata, he is looking at 2 meters. But 4 miles, everything is scanning. He knows what is happening everywhere. So he can direct his attention and he can be aware. His mind is so sharp. He is reflecting like a crystal clear. Mind is not split. Mind is not in a tension. Mind is not frustrating. Mind is not in the self-curse. So that alertness, not limited to Buddha, potential is here. So whenever you are running a risk like that, and whenever you are going to score, going to win, 1 or 2 times, you feel, or in the sense, you don't feel degrading someone, putting someone down. Because everyone is with the potential. So you at least understand the potential and possibility, help promote as much as possible to realize it. The people, every person, don't discriminate, he can do, he can't do. In my case, up to the 26, I did all the bad things. And I thought definitely I will end up with the prison. Because it's a hobby to break rules. Angry young man. If you see board in, I go out from that end. If there is a outboard, I want to go in. So one day, because Venerable Dhammika provoked me, sorry to tell you. One day, Krishnamurti has come to Colombo. And Dhammika was inquisitive and told that where is he? He told that he is in the royal guest house. So he just went as a monk and told, is this a royal guest house? Yes. I wanted to go there. No. It is not allowed for all the people. It is only for the selected few. The gatekeeper told. Then he found is the inboard, and he found there is one outboard, that telling the indication that out. He went backward in the board, backward. So guard is not responsible about the outgoing. So walking, not marching, backward. Then the guard asks, what are you doing? Don't disturb. Your main is the indoor. I am in the outdoor. Bhante, you are putting me in such a hell of a trouble. And you being monk, I can't deny you. So please, go inside, but make no noise. Because there's a discussion. So when he is going there, Krishnamurti is talking with few people and giving a talk. And he was at the last end. And one day Krishnamurti told, one moment he told, the completely silent mind is the compassion mind. That's what you call compassion. Then when Dhammika was not at ease, he raised hand. So when there's nothing, how can that be a compassion? Then Krishnamurti half smile, he told, anything mind is doing, it is not, it is split. When the mind is completely calm, that is what you call the compassion. So Venerable Dhammika says, it's enough for me. So he was sharing with me. Imagine the mind is completely concentrated and completely one-pointed. It's a compassion. Whatever you call compassion it's a partial. It is partial. So one day I make a mind jar, and I was demonstrating to young children. And I asked them to shake it, and I asked them to hold it on the hand. And then I asked, now what happens? This is settling down. I asked to settle down, what did you do? So one girl told, I have to look at it without distraction. The other one told, silently I have to observe. Then I told, if your mind is distracted, does the settling down disturb? Even if you make sounds, does the settling down disturb? Even if you are not shaking hand, even if you keep it on the desk, it's settling down. So what did you do? So they are looking at each other's face. And the mother doing nothing. Oh, I told that's the answer. To settle down, you have to do nothing. And one young girl, maybe the mother's daughter, Bhante, that is what you call compassion. I told you, how did you find the connection? No, it is very clear. Then she wrote a project. Next day, when doing nothing, compassion. So you see, they come with prepared mind. When you at home, if you are going to say, out of compassion you do this and that, you are not really teaching the intrinsic quality of the compassion. The compassion is when the mind is completely calm or one-pointed, and it's like a thunderbolt. Compassion. So what you're all doing is it's a kind of a epithet or example for compassion. But the real compassion is when you are doing nothing. When you are utterly mindful and doing nothing, that's the only compassion you can do to yourself. Otherwise you are self-torturing. You are mercenaries. And the self-compassion you will consider as selfish, or idiot, or lazy bones. But here imagine the vigilance of your mind. You understand whatever you do, you infiltrate, you put poison. Doing nothing and utterly happy about, with all my restraint I can be silent. And I feel here, now, I am not dead, I am not sleeping, I am not unmindful. So this is the biggest compassion. The Buddha says, Karaniyang atta kusalena yantan tantam padang abhisamecca. Sakko, ujuja, sujuja. If you have self-compassion, these are the qualities. Just be mindful, but you have to be contented. I have to really appreciate, with the help of this restraint, I can not only the moral restraint, not only the concentration restraint, I am utterly appreciating just being, just here and now. And this one is while seeing, while hearing, while bewilderment, still, you see what a fellow. Earlier I was regretting, I was thinking my mind is bewildered, my mind is unmindful and it is all. Now it is not there. Even the object changes, mindfulness is intact. To sum up the talk, I would say, the Buddha says, Satadipateya sabbe dhamma. Whether you know or not, all the time you are mindful. You are born mindful. Only you are appreciating now. Mindfulness is nothing new to someone. So therefore, please appreciate it. With that remark, I would like to sum up the day's talk. Thank you very much for listening.